Okay, get started. Okay, welcome everybody to the March 2025 Raleigh Astronomy Club Imaging Meeting. Tonight's topic will be about about your exploits in imaging the moon from everything from lunar eclipse to taking advantage of really good seeing to get nicely resolved images of the craters and other landmarks on the moon, and hell, even we got Mark here. Maybe he has something to show us about moon grazes, and show us what the landscape of the moon can be revealed just by grazes of different stars when they go across the horizon of the moon. Lots of other things, lunar X, and so yeah, let's get right to it. So basically, this is almost just like the second half of the meeting that we always do, and we'll just get to see what everybody has brought to the table. So who would like to go first?
I can go ahead, Chris, if you want.
Yes, Chris wants.
Chris wants, huh? Okay. Hang on here. All right, I have to get my share going. All right, let's see here. Okay, is that coming through all right?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'll start out with the recent eclipse stuff. This is well, what I did was I set up the C star in time-lapse mode at 1 second settings, and I just aimed it at the moon and let it go for 7 hours. And it took a little over 20,000 exposures. And so here it's starting to play now. Of course, there were some clouds in the beginning. And then, so I just let it go. Periodically, there would be a little bit of a jump. On one occasion, there was a little bit of autofocus, and it did an autofocus kind of thing, which I found annoying, but it did it. I didn't mess with it at all. I just let it go. And I didn't change the exposures or anything. And so and then I got the video file after 7 hours, from like 11:30 at night till 6:30 in the morning, something like that. And so then I took that and I put it in PIP and converted it into 20,000 TIFF files. And then I went through, I loaded those into software I do for time lapses called Blue Motion. And I started going through all the files just very quickly. And occasionally I'd see a jump or an out of focus or something. So what Blue Motion allows you to do is remove files that you don't want to go into the time lapse. And so I went through all those files and started deleting files where it jumped a little bit or where it got out of focus. And I probably got rid of maybe 600 of them, of the files. And then in Blue Motion, you can tell it to sort of smooth in between the images and that sort of thing. And you can mess with it in other ways as well. And then I just exported it into this video here. And you can record it back in whatever frame rate you want. And this one is 24 frames a second here. And so it's about 5 minutes or something like that. And so you see it's playing it. And it's not bouncing around very much. It's not going out of focus very much. At some point, it'll do the transition. But well, part of the reason it was bouncing is because the C star is trying to focus on the bright spots instead of on the center of the moon. So I'm hoping they fix the software for that down the road somehow, so you can set it up so it doesn't do that. But now you see the autofocus and the auto exposure is coming on here, and when it's turning the rust color, and then it goes on. And so I was just watching it. I was doing with the C-Star S30 as well, but there I was playing with the exposures and stuff, and I didn't really like what that came out. It worked fine, but in the same way as the S50 did. And then I tried it on the Dwarf 3, but I could not get the Dwarf 3 to track for that long a period of time. So I didn't really get anything with the Dwarf 3 for this. And you see there's still a little bit of jiggling around, which still probably can be fixed with some more processing. And I might be able to process them and do a little bit of sharpening and things like that, but I'd have to take the 20,000 files into Lightroom and play with them there, and then export them again and redo the time lapse. And so I'm fiddling with that just to see what the best method is for doing this. But the system of converting it into TIFF files and then throwing out the bad ones and then creating a time lapse, you don't notice the files that got thrown out or anything like that, because if you do 1 per second, there's plenty of files to go in between a few seconds here and there. So it wasn't one of the big problems. So anyway, you see it's going back, and now it's readjusting its exposure, so it starts seeing the craters again. And there are probably better ways to do this with other systems or other software, but I'm reasonably pleased with how this came out. Okay, let's see.
One thing you might be able to try with the individual images is using FFT registration to see if you can actually register them with each other and have them.
Well, I take that back. I'm sorry, I did do that.
Okay.
John, I forgot a step. I took this stuff, the TIFF files, and then I took them in IMPPG and did the alignment there. I forgot that step. I did do that.
Okay.
And so some of these things that were a little bit off did get recentered in here. A few didn't. A few just weren't any good. But yeah, I forgot that step, that I did do that alignment. And so there's that. Anyway, so that's that one. Then I did the Lunar X earlier on. And you can kind of see it in the center forming there. And if you see the two craters in the center pointing toward where the X is there, you can see that. And there's the X forming. And then it sort of fades away. I just wanted to do a time lapse of it forming and going away. I didn't adjust the exposure. If I'd adjusted the exposure, that X would have lasted a lot longer. And I did do that. So here it is here. I did it with a different system, and there's the X there over a period of time. So if I'd adjusted the exposure on the previous one, it would shown up there. That's fun to try with the C-Stars. It's just so much easier to do this kind of thing. And then this is a partial eclipse from I forget when it was now. Back in November, I think, was when there was a partial eclipse, and I just did a video of that with the C-Star as well. And then this is the moon. This is from Chico, California, where it's much darker back in November 23. And that's what we've done with the C-Star as well. And in this case, because of the darkness and stuff, I could get in the processing, I could get the color a little bit better than I can get from my driveway here. And then this is from November 19, 2021. This was just done with my Canon camera and a telephoto lens over a space of 4 or 5 hours. I just would take a picture every 15 minutes or so, and then I put them together in Photoshop like this, which is what one could do back then with the 4 C-Stars. Let's see. The zoom thing is in the way here. Okay, hang on. What's the next one? Okay, and this was another C-Star with stacking now, taking the movie and then stacking it using auto stacker and Photoshop. So you get a pretty nice detail with this C-star. And then this is also a C-star one back in February here recently. You get an enormous amount of detail if you're careful. And then this is another one. This is a 10 pane moon picture with my Edge HD8. And so there you can really zoom in on this one and see a lot of detail with that. So, which you probably can't do with the C-star. That's a 10 pane mosaic. I did a mosaic across this guy with the edge, across the moon, I should say. And then let's get this to go away here. Okay, let's just do this. All right, and then this is with the edge as well. Doing with I don't know if I used a Barlow on this or not. I can't remember. Just zooming in on that interesting animal-shaped crater system there. I don't know the name of it. And then, of course, just doing the slivers and things like that. This was in last June with the C-star. And then, okay, that's all I have for moon. Other things I can show later. Okay, that's all I've got for moon, Chris. Let me unshare.
Okay, very good. So you did all those time lapses, and I always create those. But what I'm wondering is that with the one about the Lunar X, have you ever considered just doing that almost like all night long? I mean, it'd be kind of neat just to see how much of the surface detail gets revealed throughout the night of
Yeah, I could do that. The next time there is one, I can set up to do that if the position of the moon permits and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it's preferable to do it during the winter time.
Yeah.
When it's really high up, so it's like when you get to your, when the sun goes down, it should be straight above you, and
yeah,
you can always go out.
Well, I want to do the Lunar X and the Lunar V together, and give that a try, and then adjust the exposures so that the X shows up, that kind of thing. It would be nice. It would be nice if the software was such that you could set it up to do automatic adjusting of the exposures and stuff. I don't think they've done that yet, but
yeah, I mean, it's something I've always been meaning to do for a very long time. But I mean, it looks like you got it down to a science, so why bother? I'll just let Steve do it. So yeah, no, that's a bad attitude for me to have. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, that was lovely, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, who would like to go next?
I don't mind going as long as you don't care if it's just a history of my bad shots of the moon.
That's all I have too. So I'll tell you what. There's one more shot I'm looking for on some of my stack of jump drives here that I want to also show. So I'll show you some of my bad images all the way up to really nice ones.
All right, you guys able to see that?
Yep, see it.
So this is my very first usable lunar image. This is from December of 2013. And I just reprocessed the data a couple days ago because of this meeting. I was like, well, let's see if I can get something better out of it. And I was actually surprised how much I got out of this, considering it was on a 114 millimeter Newtonian with a Barlow in it, I'm pretty sure, and an old Ioptron Smart EQ mount, and just a Panasonic, digital camera hooked up to it.
John, you made a good point, is going back and reprocessing old stuff with the new software is very illuminating. And so that's something I recommend to people now is go look at your old stuff and see what you can do with it now.
Yeah, it definitely comes in handy, especially if it's bad weather and you can't do anything new. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with what I got out of, this, even though it was not, it was like 6 months after I joined RAC. I didn't even do any imaging before this. So And then this is another old one here from 2014. That one's not as, I actually think the first one came out better than this one, um, I've got a color problem on this one, I think, more than anything. But then this is another one from 2014. Or no, this is 2016. And you can see, so you can see some of the different phases I go through with some of my processing, and I get a little crazy sometimes. Um, this next set right here, these were all in 2021. And the cool thing about this is after I did this, I did make an animation out of these because it was during a period of saying, like a week. And I did all these images and they came out pretty good. And I did an animation, which I'll show you guys at the end, of all those together. And this one was from last year. And this one was one of those videos that I tried stacking, but this top edge was just completely borked. For whatever reason, the software turned it into little whirlpools up there. And but I finally got it to stack doing similar like what Steve did. I broke it out into individual frames, and then I used FFT registration and PixInsight to align them and stack them. That's how I was able to get this to actually come out to be an image. And then this is the most recent one I did with the Sea Star last year. I haven't done the moon in a while, but the Sea Stars does really well on the moon. The processing, I think Steve does a better job of processing on the moon than I do. Because I looked at his stuff when he was doing it and I'm like, God, mine sucks. But yeah, that's, and then the last thing I've got to show, let me bring it up because it is in a, how do I bring up that animation instead? Hold on. I forgot to open it. Hold on a second. I was pretty happy with this one. If I can give me a second here, because I'm on the wrong thing. Let's go back over here. Go into these. Where are you at? Go here. Now let me open that. And now I want to, let me go back to the sharing. I got to go back into it, don't I? Where are you? Where's the stupid thing at? What the heck? All right, hold on a second. It's not showing up in my screen. I don't know if screen sharing has failed to start. You guys still there?
Yep.
Okay, let me try this again. All right, here we go. How about now? All right. So now this is that animation I did, which I thought was kind of cool. And you can see the libration and stuff of the, the moon, the wobble, which is kind of neat. I kind of like this. So I want to do a complete cycle, but getting the weather for it is just, yeah, right. So anyway, that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, John.
I could go, Chris, if you want.
No, I get to go next.
Go for it.
Anyway, yeah, I was, just running all over the place to get all my stuff in order here. So I'm just going to go like most recent and just going back in time. So everybody pretty much remembers this from last meeting. So this is after the occultation when it's coming above the quote lunar horizon with Mars there. Not like I liked how the you can still, or how you can make out some of the land the terrain and ice cap on Mars there. This was I want to say this was 2022, and I was curious to see how this was going to occur because the totality was going to occur when the moon was really close to the horizon, and it was going to be. Let's make sure I get this right. Well, obviously it was setting, so it was due west. So I was like, I wonder So I walked down the street from where I work. I work on the main campus of NC State, and got out my phone, put on the compass, and measured the azimuth. And I was like, yeah, sure enough, if I'm at the Pullen Road roundabout, I can set up there, and I can get the moon right next to the bell tower. So that was nice. So I think that was 2022. This was my first attempt at the ISS transit on anything, and as you can see, it didn't really show very much, but yeah, so it's that thing right there, and on the main picture, it's that dot right there. So that was my first one of those of ISS transiting across anything. So and that it was nice. It was happening at a high school about, I don't know, less than 5 minutes from my house, and I went there and I saw some other people set up in the parking lot there. I saw a telescope off in the distance, and I wonder. And sure enough, I could hear because he's got such a distinct voice. I heard it was I heard Mike Keefe's voice off in the distance. I was like, okay, so Mike Keefe's there. And I set up a little ways away, and here it came, went across. I got two shots, but the only one that was decent was this one. I timed it perfectly, so that was kind of nice. And yeah, afterwards went over, and yeah, it was Mike Keith and it was Matt Lachansky. They were there at the
I'm not
uh,
seeing your pictures right now. I don't know if they went away. Is it just me?
It's you. I see him.
Okay. All right. No big deal. It could be because I don't know. I don't know why. Anyway,
so yeah, but anyway, they were also in the parking lot off to the side, and went over to see what they had captured. And then this, of course, is not this past eclipse, so this was back in 2019, January 2019. An HDR time lapse of the lunar eclipse. It's probably like one of the longest time lapses I've ever processed. I mean, I think it came out to be like maybe 400 imaging sets. Image sets was a set of seven bracketed exposures, and the DSLR was taking those series once every 70 seconds, which means that because it's having to write it onto the flash drive on the camera, it took about like a minute and a half. So I was getting an image every minute and a half, or image series. So I got the whole thing, so that was nice. And then I just took like little increments of that and I made a collage out of it. So there's that. Just to sort of show you what the shape of Earth's shadow as it passes over the moon for a lunar eclipse. This is another lunar eclipse that Steve may remember. We were over at the Centennial campus. It was back in 2014. And so there it is at totality, and it's very, very low on the horizon for obvious reasons because, well, it's full, and then also the blue in the sky is starting to come out. And what's really cool about this picture is that right there, that little speck right there, that's actually the planet Uranus. So it was like really close by, and I made sure that I could get a hold of that at the same time. And then this is, I mean, a lot of people have something like this, but the thing that's kind of cool about this, as far as the subject matter goes, well, yeah, it's the moon, but this is the first HDR astro picture or astrophoto I've ever taken. So I just did two, or actually it was three different exposures, and I just followed a tutorial that I found online from, some of you may remember him. I don't even know if he does this kind of work anymore because DSLRs for the most part have been phased out of astrophotography, but his name was Gary Rodriguez. I think his website's probably still up, but his website's called AstroPix. So
Who was it, Chris?
Do what?
Who was it? Who are you
Uh,
talking about?
Jerry Rodriguez?
Oh, that okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was a little tutorial. He showed how to make HDR images in Photoshop, and I used that for everything. I used it for this. I've used it for the Orion Nebula. I mean, it was very straightforward. I made an action out of it, and it's yeah, I can't complain about it. I still use it once in a while if I can't get it to work nicely and fix Insight. I mean, that whole series that you just saw for the that time lapse of the lunar eclipse that you saw earlier, that was done using that method that Gary Rodriguez uh, outlined on. It's a ASTROPIX. That's the name of his website. I don't know if it's still running or not. I haven't looked. But then this right here, I'm glad Mark's here. He probably remembers this. This was we were at North Carey Park. This is back in, I want to say October 2008. It was definitely 2008, and there was a lunar eclipse. This is my first lunar eclipse image at close to about totality. And he had a pretty, it was a RAC event, so a lot of RAC members, they brought out their telescopes, and me, I didn't really have I didn't have like an intervalometer. All I have is just a regular remote where you just, well, just push a button and it takes a picture. And this was with a very old Canon EOS. It was only 8 megapixels, so or eight, yeah, 8 megapixels. So it's a pretty small camera, but good times. It was really funny. It's like 3 cop cars came to the event. I'm sure it was announced. I mean, yeah, I'm sure like maybe Phyllis or whomever may have announced that we were going to be there. But yeah, but oh gosh, what's his name? Yeah, Jerry Watson was there, and he was like, "Oh yeah, guys, come over. You got to take a look at this." He was showing the cops all the features that were on the moon and whatnot, and yeah, they were getting a kick out of it. So that was great. And then this is my very first asteroid image. This is me. I commented on this like back there in the workshop last weekend. All I did was I took an old point and shoot camera and just colored up to the scope and hoped that I was able to get it to fit. And this was like this photo was actually able to fit as in like what you call afocal imaging. I was able to get it framed perfectly so that it wasn't vignetted off to the side by the eyepiece. And this was through a 10-inch, my first telescope, which was a 10-inch Dobsonian. And that's where all the, funding for my astrophotography spiraled out of control from there on out. I mean, yeah, so that was, oh gosh, that must have been 2006 or early 2007, something like that. All I know is that the first iPhone wasn't out yet. The first iPhone would come a little bit later in 2007, and historically speaking, it ran on a 2G network. So, so yeah, there wasn't. I mean, you had flip phones that had cameras on the back of it. But I didn't have one of those. No, it was just a simple point and shoot camera. But from what I understand, young folks out there, they're really into that kind of thing these days, old point and shoot cameras and taking images of those instead of smartphones. But anyway, okay, so that's all I have.
I'm going to tell a story on you, Chris.
Oh gosh, what happened?
Well, when you were talking about this is right about when you joined the club, right?
Yeah.
So when Chris first joined the club, he was kind of like another member we have. He'd always show up with his pack of photos he had shot, and I always got a kick out of it. And just it kind of made me smile.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all proud of our accomplishments, and I didn't have a Flickr webpage yet or whatever, so it's just like, well, how do I share these with people? And I think it wasn't until like I don't know, like maybe 1997 when I actually started actively using email. So yeah, about 10 years later, yeah, that's the only way I knew how to like show images was just attach it to emails and show it to people. So I was like, I'll just print them out and show them off at the meeting. It's fun to be validated. I mean, everybody loves that feeling. So get off my back, Mark, Okay, who'd like to go next?
I can.
You go.
What you got?
All right. All right. So hadn't planned on showing this, but you've inspired me. So this is one of my first shots through the Dob. And I can't remember if this is handheld afocal or if I 3D printed a phone case yet, but yeah, that's reaching back. 2020 is when I started out. So, all right, on to what I had planned. So the first picture that I really think of as a first picture of the moon is this one. I had set up my wife's Canon SL2 on the driveway. She had like one of those little articulating tripods that was like a foot long. And I just set it up, was taking shots of the moon randomly. So happened to work out that I learned about Earthshine. I had no idea, hadn't really thought about it, noticed it before. So to this day, I love seeing it. A lot of problems with this picture, but it didn't matter. So with my Zenith Star later that year, I had the ASI 2600, and I took a data in LRGB. It was really interesting crescent, but the neat thing is I went ahead and did it in narrowband as well, because why not? So this is luminance with SHO, and yeah. Then probably still one of my favorite full moon pictures taken with my 6-inch oh, sorry, this is the 5-inch refractor, the Esprit. Again, in monochrome. Tried to do the mineral moon processing on it, and it turned out pretty well. Lunar eclipse. I did not catch the lunar eclipse this year, like recently. So thank you everybody who's shown pictures and videos. I was sleeping, exhausted, but I did catch one in 2022. So this is with the DSLR zoom lens at 75 millimeters. And I really like this one simply because it reminds me of what it looked like through my binoculars. You know, leaning on the front porch post and, you know, looking at it. It was really cool. I had my Dob on the front porch as well, and ASI 533 MC, which was the only camera I had that could reach focus in that Dobsonian. It was really fun because, you know, it's a Dob. It's not moving. So I'd frame the moon up in the upper right corner and hope that it would pass through the middle as it took pictures. A fun experiment. Lunar X and Lunar V. Like Steve, I've wanted to do the time lapse like you showed and like the longer ones you guys have been talking about, that I happened to get this and then clouds rolled in. So I took it. So you've got Lunar X, right? You can see my cursor, I hope. And then
Yes.
Lunar V's down here. Again. So X, the 2 craters, and then V.
Oh, yeah.
With other
Nice.
neat structures nearby, but Jupiter with the moon and Earthshine. Did it inverted. I don't remember why. It was kind of cool with the clouds. You see some of the stars around as well.
Is that the moons around it?
Around Jupiter. Yeah.
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 Those are, okay. Which ones are they?
Galilean moons. I don't know.
Three.
Mo, Larry, and Curly.
You know, if you know the date and time, you can look it up.
Yeah, there it is. February 22nd, 2023.
You're done. You're done.
I have not done a lot of longer focal length. Of the stuff I have tried, this and the next one are my 2 favorites. So this is, let's see, I have to look at my description. Mortis, crater in the middle, with Hercules and Atlas over here on the right side. And then it was cool, like there's cliffs over here on the left. Which I thought was pretty cool. But then I did Hercules and Atlas with the Barlow as well. It's got problems, but I still think it's pretty cool to see. So I'm running my C8 right now at f10, so I probably should just point it at the moon every once in a while and see what I get. Wouldn't have to change anything up.
Naveen, were these stacked videos?
This is, yes. So 202 frames at 0.77 milliseconds each. These were a lot faster. I think it was a smaller region.
All right, very nice, Naveen. Who'd like to go next?
I can go.
All right, let's see what you got.
Share that one. All right, so this was from last year. I was getting ready for the eclipse, and so just about a year ago. And I just had to set up and just practicing focus and exposure. So this is just a random moon one night. Stacked, I don't remember how many on this one, less than 100. And then just tip and ask the stacker to make that. So, and this is my take on the middle moon. I like yours better, Naveen. You have better colors on yours. This is also about 300 stacked, same setup, DSLR, 300 millimeter f4 with a 2x teleconverter set to f11, if I remember right. I don't remember how long the exposure length was, but about 300 images to get to that.
Jim, I'm sorry. What were the optics here?
It was a 300 millimeter f4 lens with a 2x teleconverter, so 600 millimeters, and then I set it to f11.
Okay, all right.
And it was on a Ioptron SkyGuider Pro. And this is my lunar eclipse picture for this year. See if I can make that a little bigger. There we go. So this was mid-eclipse, sometime close to 3 a.m. And 4-second exposures, that same setup with the DSLR and the 600 millimeters. I was somewhere around, I think I was at f10 and ISO 800, and this was 85% of 90-something frames. I ended up with 82 in all. And then this is the first time I tried stacking the stars. So these are the actual stars from those frames. And I did that in DSS and Deep Sky Stacker. So I did stack of the moons in Astro Stacker, and then stack of the stars in DSS, and then combine them in Photoshop. So it actually was easier than I thought it was going to be. And then, well, let me take it off then. The last one, just because Chris inspired me here. So that 2019 eclipse, this would have been my first eclipse photo, shot through APS sensor DSLR, and I don't remember what size lens I was using then, but just a single frame. I didn't know stacking was a thing yet. But after I took this, I joined the Raleigh Astronomy Club, went to my first meeting where I'm pretty sure, Chris, you showed that time lapse. And I said, that's it. I'm buying a mount and a telescope, and I'm getting into this for real. So this was the start of my journey. And then much inspired by that first eclipse meeting. And Chris, I still think about your photo there from NC State. I really like the way that one came out. I know that was a couple years later, but that's one that's kind of stuck with me. It's just very nice composition of the lunar eclipse. So well done on that one.
Well, that's something I recommend everybody do, is that, I mean, it's like I've said over and over again, I really wish I would have done a time lapse there, because you would have seen, it progress through, this, when it was almost going through totality, all the way to totality, but you would have had the hands moving on the clock as well at the same time. But the other thing that's nice about that photo is that you have a sort of analog timestamp on it, because the clock's right there. It tells you exactly when it was taken. So that's a nice little touch there. But yeah, that's what I recommend for everybody, is that if you can, Joe Pett's really good about doing this. I just if you think there's going to be an opportunity to look at an eclipse and you want to try something new, but you don't really know what, that try to find a landmark where you can set it in the background and have like a landmark in the foreground. You know, make a nice little, like Jim said, a composition to make it nice and photogenic beyond just being an astrophoto. So, I mean, the other thing too is like, well, it's a blood moon, and you know, NC State's all about their red and white colors and sometimes black. But anyway, okay.
Now for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. But anyway, anybody? That was yeah. I'll go back to that. That was actually an HDR, and it was the same sequence too that I did with the 2019. Because I mean, I had to make it a long exposure to get the that totality phase to show up, and the lights that were lighting up the actual bells in the tower there, they were completely blown out. So they're just like, yeah, they're going to have to do a series on this one too. So, and once again, I used that method I described earlier from the Jerry Rodriguez's website. So, anyway.
That could be a lot of work for a time lapse, but I guess you could do some sort of HDR photo for each frame.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, that's what happened with that time lapse. It was, I have to go back and look, but yeah, it was hundreds of photos to go through. And then, yeah, so obviously I had to come up with a lot of Photoshop macros, or excuse me, Photoshop actions to you know, automate it. But it took me at least a week to get it to look the way you guys saw it. And I showed briefly Naveen how to do just one frame out of that a little while ago. I don't know. Do you remember that, Naveen?
Yeah, that
Yeah. So
it'll work.
it was, yeah, it took like what, 3 minutes for me just to do one in front of you. Yeah, I mean, I had it was a little bit quicker, you know, back when I had actually done it, but yeah, whatever. So, hey, it was well worth it in my opinion. But okay, you know, I'll stop talking about myself. You know, so I treasure my vanity, I guess. But all right. So anybody else out there want to share their moon images?
I can go, Chris, if you want.
All right, let's see it.
All right.
I'm hoping you're having one that I'm thinking about.
Well, I don't know, but we'll see what we get here.
I'll let you hold it if you don't.
Okay. You said something about occultation, so I got some stuff going on. Okay. This is probably my favorite moon picture I've ever taken. And it was taken during the May 15th, 2022 lunar eclipse. And everybody knows, I think, that I love occultations, mostly the grazes, but in this case it was a total. So on the left side towards the bottom over there, you can see the moon creeping up and covering this WDS double star in Libra. And so it hits the secondary star first, which was like 8.9 magnitude star. And then 11 arc seconds further over is the brighter star, which is magnitude 6.3. And so this is a I think this is a 6 frame animation taken with my Genesis and my Canon DSLR. Is this the one you were thinking of, Chris?
No. But if I'm looking at that correctly, it's like the secondary star is like kind of bluish there.
Yeah, they look a little bluish.
Okay.
But most people don't really think about the motion of the moon very much in this sort of.
See, something else I wanted to do, you know, you showed this, and we're talking about time lapses. Another thing I would like to try is do a time lapse, just like looking at a crater where just I don't know what you would call it, the centroid of the umbra is going to pass over. That way you get to like really see how dark the moon actually gets, you know. And what I mean by that, I mean as in you're focusing on a crater, you're not looking at the whole full disk. You know, you're using a long focal length just to look at its surface detail.
Yeah. Okay. Next. This is just this may be the same shot that Jim was talking about a few minutes ago. This was the total lunar eclipse of November the 8th, 2022. And this is nothing special about this except, you know, it shows a lot of stars, and you know, you don't usually see that many stars unless you go fairly deep, which is probably why the moon looks a little bright, but still makes it kind of interesting to me. Another Genesis shot. And then another eclipse picture, but this time I shot a sequence and made them into a mosaic. This was January the 20th and 21st, 2019. And so I just took three pictures and used Photoshop and made them all into a mosaic to kind of, I was trying to show the what the shadow of the moon looks like in relative size of, you know, what it is. So again, a Genesis and Canon T3i shot. And then finally, this was an oldie. This is back in February 20th of 2015. So this is the crescent moon hanging there above the trees with Venus and Mars on the left. This was shot with a 180 millimeter Nikkor lens on a Canon XTI. That's an oldie. And so that's what I had.
Okay, yeah, you disappoint me. No, it was God, what was it? I think it was Comet Pan Stars. Remember that?
Pan stars. Oh,
We went to like Crabtree Lake.
yeah, I remember that shot.
Yeah, so
But I didn't get the moon quite in my picture. But you
okay.
did, or it seems like you did, or somebody.
No, that was I keep forgetting that guy's name. He was really into comets like you are, but I hadn't seen him in a long time.
Member of the club?
Yeah, he was a member of the club. He actually did a workshop on comets and processing comet images in PixInsight a while back. I mean, but what's his name?
God, I can't think of who that is. But
Remember, I'll probably remember probably none of my sleep tonight. But anyway, okay, who would like to go next?
Yeah, I could go next.
All right, let's see what you got.
Share screen. I guess that's the one that popped up first, but we can, so I made an animated GIF of what I did. So this was a shot with my 6-inch Newtonian and using the 2600 MC camera. And this was with the Nexus coma corrector, so I was able to just barely fit the whole moon in the frame. And yeah, I basically took a short video, like 30-second video every 5 minutes during this phase here. And then when we get to the totality, kind of spread it out a little bit more. And then lost some steam at the other end where I just enjoyed the rest of it visually. But yeah, I think this was like 26 videos that I used Auto Stacker to put together, and then some processing in PixInsight and final assembly in Photoshop. So yeah, that's the animated version. And here's some still, I guess, images. It was nice because this actually was my first lunar eclipse, so it was quite the experience. It's really enjoyable seeing the stars just kind of come to life. around the moon. I think that's, yeah, like this guy here. You know, I'm basically zoomed in as much as I can, but there was a brief moment at the beginning of totality where there was a couple stars off to the right that I was able to catch in the frame. Yeah, so I had a pretty good time shooting that. And then I guess going back to a year ago, so this is back when I was using my cell phone piggybacked on the back of like a spotting scope I have, just with an alt-as tracker, again using auto stacker. But yeah, this is kind of where my moon, you know, for image processing began, at least with the moon. You know, so it's, you know, definitely got me kind of hooked in general with the imaging. So that was with the, you know, cell phone on the back of a spotting scope, and here's you know, another moonshot, but with the Newtonian and, you know, the astro camera. Yeah, and then I think I showed this last meeting or for the occultation. You know, got I think 12 videos of Mars tracking behind the moon. So yeah, this was the first one with the moon where I really, I don't know, tried to bring out the color with the saturation. So yeah, definitely been having a good time imaging the moon.
I like that one. I think that's my favorite out of all of yours.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, the still working on the live color balancing. The Mars was more yellow from what I captured and tried to fix it the best I could in post. But even with the lunar eclipse, like the red balance, I don't know. I just left it set and just let it go. But in retrospect, I kind of wish I had been trying to dynamically adjust that on top of, you know, the gain and exposure. But maybe next time. Because yeah, visually to me, it, you know, is very brown. You know, like looking through the spotting scope and just visually. So it's be nice to try and capture that, you know, as is, you know, visual representation. Yeah, so that's what I had for the moon. So yeah.
All right, very good. Anybody else? No? Okay, well, I guess that's it for the main topic of the meeting. So we're done with the first half. Next, we'll move on to the second half, where we'll look at what images others have taken that are unrelated to the topics. Anybody else have any new images that they taken of the sky since last time?
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Chris.
All right, let's see them.
Let's go back up here. All right, let's see. Oh, I got to share, sorry. All right, I came across another moon picture I thought I'd show. This is actually probably one that would be very nice in a time lapse as well. There's this wall on the moon. This was done with a sea star. I just took a movie of this area. Well, I took a movie of that and I zoomed in on it. There's a wall here that appears and disappears again. So if you take a time lapse of this, you'll see this wall. It's literally a wall on the moon. You'll see this thing appearing and then disappearing again. It gets very bright for a particular time and then it goes away again. And there's other sort of walls and things like that on there too. So if you get specific about spots on the moon, you can with a sea star do this kind of thing. And so the next time I'm going to try to do this with a time lapse to show the evolution of this appearance and disappearance of this wall. All right.
I wonder if that's a pressure ridge from the crater, you know, like an impact crater, you know.
Possibly, yes. I don't know. That's the Rupus recta is the name. You can look it up and find out the details about it. Okay, now going on to non-moon things. This was I've been moving away from C-star and doing things with what I call my red system, which is mostly ZWO stuff. But this was with a Rokinon 135 millimeter lens on my what I call my red system. This is an HOO narrowband image March 7th of the Boogeyman Nebula, LDN 1622N, the Barnard's Loop, and that sort of thing. And so this is about 4 hours, I guess, total exposure of H and O put together in PixInsight. So I'm going back to using non-C-star type things, and then I decided also to try the same target on one night. So this is with the Dwarf 3. These are all roughly 2-hour exposures. In the case of the Dwarf, it was 60-second exposures for 2 hours, and then processed in PixInsight. I wanted to see what each individual thing would do. So this is with the Dwarf 3 in equatorial mode. And then this is with the C-star S50 and with a mosaic mode on there, so that because the C-star S50 won't get this whole thing in its individual. So I set up a mosaic for that. And so again, about 2 hours of 10-second exposures in this case. And then finally, this is the C-star S30. Same amount of time. I started them all at the same time and just let them go for 2 hours and then process them all to see what I would get. And so there you can see they're a little bit different, and you have to set them up differently in order to get this kind of exposure. But it was a very interesting process to try everything all at once and see what I could get. And I've done some more of that. And this is with the C-star in the solar processing, using the solar toolkit in PixInsight to get more detail out of the sunspots and that sort of thing. And so that you can do quite a lot with the C-star in this way, not as much as you can with the Lunt, of course, but you can get some interesting things if you play around with it some. All right, and this is with the Dwarf Heart Nebula with the Dwarf 3, with maybe a little too much color. This again, all these are roughly 2 hours, because that seems to be about for things of this size in this field of view, 2 hours seems about the limit to what you could do. You could do multiple nights, of course, but this was just for one night. And this was with the S30. And it gives you some idea of what you can see with the not in a mosaic board, just its traditional mode for 2 hours again for 10-second exposures. And then this was 2 nights ago. This was M51. This is with my what I call my stellar viewer red system. This is with my 102 millimeter stellar viewer refractor with the ASI 2600 MC Pro. And this is again about an hour. I was just testing stuff out because I'm setting these systems up now, just to start doing some more serious galaxy things and that sort of thing. And so I was reasonably pleased that I could get that in roughly an hour of exposure. And what I actually, this is the actual picture that I took. This is the field of view of that system right now. And then this previous picture was just the zoom in of that. So it gets a fair amount of detail for just an hour. I was reasonably pleased. And this was just a thing I played with using some AI software to do a zoom in to the center. So basically took the first 2 pictures and took the one picture and then the second picture and told the AI to do a zoom in to the center of the galaxy. And that's kind of fun to make little videos like that. And then this is a sombrero, of course, with the C-star S50. And you can do these galaxies if you get them absolutely in the center of the C-star and let them go for a couple of hours. Actually, in this case, I think I let it go for 4 hours. And of course, you get the mess around the edges. So this is very much cropped, but you can get a lot of detail with the C-star if you let it go and then just do the processing.
Soon you won't have to worry about that, but yeah.
Soon I won't have to worry about that. Exactly right. When the equatorial comes in, I'll be a lot better. And then, of course, when they make a bigger C star as well.
That's an
Okay.
amazing photo, Steve.
Oh,
That's great detail.
yeah, you can do it if you're careful. Then this was just a couple nights ago. I just aimed it at these interacting galaxies, NGC 4568, and I think 4567 in the Virgo cluster area there. And so I'm just trying galaxies with the C star S50. The S30 and the dwarf 3 are just, you can't do much with galaxies with those because it's just too small in the frame.
That's pretty good detail. What's the pixel scale that you get on the?
Well, whatever it's the S50, I don't know the exact.
2.38 arc seconds per pixel.
All right, thanks, John. Yeah,
So drizzling, that's what you get out of there. That's pretty good.
yeah, it's fun. And you process it and whatnot a little bit to fiddle with it. Okay, that just to show the systems I'm currently using. This is the Stellar View Red system with the AM5 and the 2600 MC Pro, which also has the guiding chip in it. But for this particular situation, the field of view is not quite right for the guiding chip. So I use the external guider on this one. And the problem I have with this is that this Stellar View has a moonlight focuser on it that I put on it. And you can't control that with the ASI Air that's sitting on top there. So I use my Pegasus Astro power box to power and do the moonlight focusing part. So I have to have two boxes to control this particular system to get the focus right. And I'm using a Optolong L Ultimate filter along with the MC Pro there. So, and it works quite nicely. This is what I used for the M51. And then this is with the C8, similar setup. I don't have the power box on there. This also has a moonlight focuser on it. And this has the 2600 mm Pro with a filter wheel on it. So I'm going to do narrowband with this and well, LRGB2 with galaxies when I get this all set up. And then this is the ASI 2600 mm with the filter wheel on the Rokinon 135 setup. And this all works fine without the power box on it because all the focusing is done with ZWO stuff. And then here's all the four systems, the red system with the 135, the C star S30, the S50, and the dwarf 3 all working at the same time. And at the top of my driveway where I can do my best imaging. Okay, that's all I've got, Chris. Stop sharing.
Okay, very good. Anybody else?
I got two.
Just two?
Yeah.
Disappointed.
All right, here we go. So I got I remember a few months ago, Steve did Markarian's chain in the S50 as a mosaic, and I decided to go ahead and shoot it with the Dwarf 3. I didn't really, do very good on this one, but it's kind of cool. It's all there, and it was only 95 30-second exposures, so there's you see lots of little galaxies in there. I probably didn't get the color quite right on it, but the Dwarf 3 is pretty good for that sort of thing. And yeah, so I might do some more work on this one because I'm not real happy with how that one looks right now, but it's not the end of the world terrible. And this second one is a blast from the past because I'm pretty sure, Chris, you had a 9 1/4 SCT, right? Or you still have that?
No, I replaced it with the C11, but yeah, I used to.
Yeah, remember when we were at Prairie Ridge and we hooked my Canon T2i camera up to it, and me, and Ian were trying to figure out how to get the zoom to go into 5x?
Okay.
Yeah, we were doing that, and I took this video before we did the 5x on it, and I just let it sit there for 10 years. I finally processed it like 2 days ago.
Wow.
And I was pretty pleased with what came out of that. So, it looks pretty reasonably clear to me. You can see 3 of the moons there. Don't know which ones. Mo, Larry, and Curly will go with. So I was pretty happy with how this one came out. For a Canon T2i, 10 years ago, I'll take it. So
Well, okay, so this will destroy the scope, right?
yeah, I'm pretty sure we were at Prairie Ridge Eco Station, doing one of those public outreach events,
Yeah.
and I asked if I could put it on there, and he said sure, and we did it, and so I took a video, and then you could hear me and Ian talking about how to get the Zoom working. And then I took another video with the Zoom and I processed that one, but I didn't process this one. And this one I think is the better outcome.
Well, the reason, what I was going to say is like, do you remember if we used a Barlow element for it, or
No, I don't think we did.
okay, it was just straight into the
Yeah, straight into the 9 1/4. We may have had a Barlow, but I don't remember there being one.
yeah.
But I was surprised it got a pretty good bit of detail.
Yeah, it probably could have handled more. Was it more focal length?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this is cropped in somewhat too. So, so yeah, that was but that was a blast from the past. So
Still pretty clear. You're gonna need to go take another one now so we can see how much the Great Red Spot has changed in 10 years.
yeah, I need I don't have a high enough focal length system right now to do it because I got my I've got two 5-inch Newtonians, but they're both f2.8. So
I don't know. Well, I mean, help me out, Mark. Are you still there? Yeah, there you are.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned that, Jim. I'm pretty sure Mark remembers this. I think it was either 2010 or 2011. The southern equatorial belt of Jupiter, it just started fading, and then finally it just disappeared, and it was just a red spot at the bottom. There was nothing flowing around it whatsoever. You remember that, Mark?
I remember it, but boy, I couldn't even come close to telling you what year it was.
Yeah. You know what? Here, does anybody else have anything else to show?
Yeah, I
I've got
do.
one I want to show.
Okay. Yeah, while you're showing that, I'll see if I can hunt down the one
Okay.
picture I got of that.
So showing a picture of the scope. So after 6 years, I've finally upgraded from my little 70 millimeter scope to a 140 millimeter stellar view. I think I looked at every scope in the world in the meantime before I finally decided, no, I like the images out of that one. And so the banana for scale, I think this one's about 5 bananas. My old scope is about 2. So it's a bit of an upgrade. And I got it set up the first night, and I shoot up in Virginia, and I'm not there all the time. So I got it set up in Virginia, got the focus working, took what's left of the night and shot off some RGB images of M81, M82, with some HA mixed in there. I ended up with about 30 minutes each of RGB and 2.5 times, that's a little bit over an hour of HA. And that was going to be the first image. And I took my jump drive and I went home and realized of the million things that I set up in Nina, one of them I didn't set up in the new protocol, in the new setup for the new telescope, was the save location. So I saved everything on my Eagle computer, which was still in Virginia, and I had my jump drive in Raleigh. So I waited until the next time I was in Virginia, and that was the night of the eclipse. And so while on the night of the eclipse, I had to just shoot HA while the moon was super bright. And then during the eclipse, I switched to luminance channel. And so I just shot luminance during the eclipse while the Canon was firing away at the moon. And then I took the jump drive back with me this time with all the images on it. And hopefully you can see this new tab. And so this was my first image out of this camera, out of this telescope.
Wow.
Wow.
Lovely.
That's nice.
So
It's almost exploding there.
so it's a lot of HA because I shot it that night. The eclipse, I got a ton of HA on it. It wasn't a whole lot of RGB though. It's just a little bit of RGB. And then it's the first time I've ever done an HA LRGB image. So I had to figure out how to do that. So a little bit of fun. But this one came out a lot of details. So I think I'm going to like this scope. I wasn't sure. It was a bit of a beast to get on the mount and to take it back down again. I was like, well, I hope I didn't get the wrong telescope. But then I got this image and went, no, it'll work. I'll put up with the pain of trying to move it around. And so far, that is at the very least been gotten a top pick nomination on Astrobin, which is a little bit embarrassing. Like, where am I going to go from here? That's my first image. All my hopes are going to be very high in any future images out of that scope. But let's look forward to more time with that scope.
That's beautiful.
All right.
And what focal length was that at?
938 millimeters.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Do you know if they make? I'm looking on that website. I'm looking on their website right now. I'm disappointed that you didn't get the carbon filter one. Carbon fiber one, excuse me.
I decided, after that much money, I wasn't willing to spend the extra $200, and I maxed out my budget by.
Yeah, I had the same debate when I bought my 102 from Stellar View. I have a 70 and a 102 from Stellar View, and I'm very happy with both. But debating about the carbon versus not carbon, I finally got the carbon. But boy,
you went with the carbon. Is it worth it?
Yeah, the 102 carbon, yes, yeah, because it's so much lighter.
It is a lot lighter, yeah.
Yeah.
Now this one's got me wanting to upgrade my smaller one so that I can get a nicer wide field because the stars look so much nicer out of the scope.
Yeah, the Stellar Views are amazing.
Yeah.
Did they pay a reducer for that?
They just started producing it, and so there is now a reducer for the 140. I haven't gotten it yet, but that's the plan.
Yeah, in fact, I was just looking at them the other night, Chris. I have the reducer for both the 70 and the 102, and they're beautiful. They're really
I think those are like 0.7. I think the 140 is going to be like a 0.8.
Yeah, it's 0.7. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
But mine is a 4-inch and yours is a 6, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So did you buy it from Stellar View or?
I got it from Stellar View, and then they shipped it, and then we had a snowstorm, and so there were days where UPS couldn't even tell me where it was. I was like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, I went to Moonlight and put the Moonlight focuser on the Stellar View.
So you put it. Was it hard to put it on yourself?
No, it was easy.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy who runs Moonlight is very helpful.
Okay.
Tells you
I heard good things about the Stellar View focuser, so I went with it. But using it, I kind of wish that I'd gotten something a little bit smoother. I find that I can't get a real good graph. Maybe I just need more experience with it. But
yeah,
you can buy the. Can you buy the Moonlight with it though?
You can get the Moonlight with it, and I opted not to.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
I have some regrets about not getting it.
How long did it take you to get that scope? I mean, like you ordered it. What was the wait time for it? I mean,
it was a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah, it was maybe just under 2 months.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. The personalized service you get from them is amazing, though.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I was had questions. I only have actually I bought 3, but I only have 1 now. Yeah, I got to talk to the founder of Vic or whatever. Yeah.
Like Vic answers the phone. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I was just like, yeah. So, yeah, I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow, geez. But okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I've got 2.
All right, let's see them.
All right. Did that come up?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, this is NGC 2264, the Christmas tree nebula that I took from my backyard, and with my Stellar Mira 90 millimeter and 533 MC camera, and it's just it's 3-minute exposures, and I think it's close to 8 hours, 7.8, 7.7, something like that. And this is with a L-enhance filter.
What's the mount?
That's the Orion HEQ5 or similar to that. It's the Sirius mount.
Right, the Sirius. Okay.
Yep. So that
Really
scope
nice,
works well.
Don.
So I was kind of pleased with the detail on it, that how it came out.
Great.
That's very nice.
And let's see. New share, then yeah, this is again from my my backyard, and this is M78 in Orion, and this really needs dark skies and more exposure. This is a little over 5 hours, again with 3-minute exposures, the same telescope with the UVIR cut filter, and yeah, it my skies are Bortle 5 at the zenith, so it's probably a little worse. Obviously, it's this is in Orion, but anyway, yeah.
How many hours again did you say?
5 hours.
5 hours. Okay.
Yeah. And 3-minute exposures. And on the first one, I said 3-minute exposures. They were 4-minute exposures. So I stand corrected because I was using the filter. So yeah, this is 3 minutes. With the Christmas tree, it was 4-minute exposures.
Has a bit of a 3D feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. My processing skills are so. Maybe with I mean, I did separate out the stars and StarNet plus and did some processing, but I'm
It looks
wondering.
to me like you've got more structure in there. With a little more processing, I think there's probably even more you could bring out.
Yeah, and possibly another couple hours of exposure would help on that.
Sure. But I'm just seeing what looks to me like more you could bring out if you played with it some more.
Okay, yeah, maybe I will. Yeah, thanks. I'll give that a try. Yeah.
What do you process in?
I don't use PixInsight. I use a bunch of different. I use Cyril, GIMP, StarNet and a couple of other programs, maybe to get rid of a little bit of for defringing. Yeah, and then I combined then I combined the starless with this. The stars with the starless with the stars. I use an old program I have, which is Nebulosity.
I was thinking that SETI auto DBE would be fun to run on that, just to see what it would do if it removed some of that background gradient. I don't know if his standalone suite. I don't know. Does he charge for the standalone suite? Anybody know?
No.
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 And what was that?
It's I can't remember what's the name of it. Is it SETI Astro Suite?
Just look up SETI Astro on Google and you'll find it.
Okay.
And he has a YouTube channel where he does a lot of videos on what all the different pieces of that will do, and it's very, very interesting. Some of the stuff is very useful. So I would get that. You can get the suite. You can get the version that goes into PixInsight, or you can get a standalone.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them cost anything right now.
It looks like it's standalone. That's just about everything. I keep watching his videos and he keeps adding stuff to it.
Does, yeah. So it's worth looking into. Yeah.
Yeah, because if some of that belongs in there, that because there's a lot of dust around in there, and it's kind of difficult to
right by Barnard's Loop there. Yeah, it's right by Barnard's Loops. There's a lot of stuff there.
I find that's where his auto DBE works well. It does a good job of preserving the structure and getting rid of the noise, getting rid of the gradients.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don, if you want to put the frames someplace, we can play around with it if you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I can put it in Dropbox or something.
Yeah, well, whatever frames that you use to make this, we can try it in different pieces of software and see what does what.
Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, yeah, yeah.
And if that's easy for you to do, it'd be fun to play with it.
Okay, all the sub exposures?
Yeah, everything.
Everything, okay. All right. I'll do that. I guess I guess with Dropbox would be the only way I.
And just stick it in Dropbox and send us the link, and we, those of us who like to play with post processing can give it a try.
Well, that would be interesting. Yeah. Yes. I would appreciate that. Thank you. It is kind of neat. It looks like two car headlights coming through the fog. It's kind of weird. It's kind
In the
of.
fog, yes.
It's foggy.
Yep. Yeah, that's all I have. Yeah. And
Okay, very good. Anybody else?
I have a couple I can do super quick.
All right.
So the first picture I'm showing here is an older image just for reference. This was with the Rokinon 135, no filter, Canon T2i. I switched over to IMX 571, the AGMA one-shot color, and with a narrowband filter on the same field. There's a lot more cool stuff there. There's like a SNR you can see in the upper end of this stuff streaming out of Rosette. So this is Rosette and Christmas tree cluster and surrounding regions. I got a new scope, a SQA 55, and got 1 hour on Horsehead with that same camera, so the AGMA IMX 175. Been going back and forth with support though. It's got inverted diffraction spikes, apparently inverted lighthouse. So trying to figure out if it's me or the scope. So hopefully they'll get back to me soon.
It's you.
Yeah, that's probably what they'll say.
Is it the color camera, Naveen?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
we're
then the last one I wanted to show is a portion of Rosette. So focusing on, I was trying to get the Panther, and I spent time, I got like 3 hours of narrowband data, did a quick stack, and noticed there's tendrils of sulfur 2 in this top left area, the way it's oriented. So I ended up getting a bit over 15 hours of S2 just for that. I think it turned out pretty cool. There's also this bright area in the bottom right, and this kind of semicircle bit is also a lot of S2. And you can see some of the tendril in hydrogen alpha, but this blue shooting down through the middle is also HA. And you can see some of that red representing the S2 coming through as well. So
This is not with the 135, is it?
I'm sorry, no, this is the C8.
C8, of course. All right.
C8 Edge HD at f10.
Right. Okay.
With ASI 2600 mm.
Okay.
that last one, the Horsehead reflection. Where did you do that?
My backyard.
Backyard. Okay, you don't live too far from me. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Where to pull that off. And what kind of filter did you put on it? I mean, or did you put any filter on it?
it's a Beta UVIR cut 2-inch. That's
Okay.
it.
Just a UVIR, and that's it. No light pollution. Well, it's a reflection.
Well, I mean, there's light pollution, but it's not super horrible. But it was also 16% moon, so no moon to speak of.
Right.
I
Right.
I put a step down ring on this setup and shot, was it Tuesday night? Just to see what the star shapes would look like. So I expect a lot more problems with the nebulosity because there was a lot of moon. But we'll see.
It looks fine to me. Anybody else?
I got a couple I could share. Okay. So I think last time I had shown it was the same data, but went back and reprocessed it because I think Chris, you had mentioned that you thought you'd seen some more kind of details off on the edges. So I spent some more time trying to bring that out here and was able to get a bit more. This was again shot with my 6-inch Newtonian. I think this was around 32 hours split between the two filters I have on the one-shot color camera. I think a little bit of an improvement. Still feel like more, I guess, work on the color could be done. There's definitely more stuff going on around on the edges that I wasn't picking up before. Yeah.
Naveen, I think I see the tendrils that you were talking about in the sulfur there.
Like
Am I
this.
right? And yeah, this
Yeah,
we're talking about in the sulfur are there in this image as well.
yeah,
A
I
little
think so.
orange.
It's oriented differently, of course, but
Yeah, I think it even like
right
goes.
there, right there, and the little circular area or down to the lower left there.
Oh yeah, this thing.
There, that's the same area you just pointed out, Naveen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that looks great.
two very different setups getting these structures.
Yeah, similar. Like I think this was about 16 hours of SH, or sorry, the sulfur and the hydrogen, and then doubled up on the oxygen because it's on both filters. But yeah, so definitely more to I think play with here. Making some progress. The other one, so this had been kind of just adding more data. I think last time I'd shown what I got with the jellyfish nebula was at like 13 hours. I think it was like 5 hours with the hydrogen oxygen filter and then the rest on the sulfur. So I was able to get up to, I think, just under 33.5 hours. I think pretty evenly split between the two filters. So yeah, I was able to start to get a lot more detail, especially from the hydrogen that I kind of was neglecting previously. And the other things going on too. I guess like I think that's a planetary nebula, and then some reflection nebula kind of sticking out. Definitely liking this is OSH palette there as well. So pretty pleased with that, other than, the funky reflections I have going on with my stars. So we'll see if I can clean that up.
The jellyfish is kind of bicolor there, so is that oxygen and hydrogen that we're seeing?
Yeah, so this is sulfur, oxygen, hydrogen. So the oxygen is in red, so pretty clear. The teal region is, there's pretty decent overlap between all three. I guess a little bit more in this view, like hydrogen's blue, and yeah, sulfur with the teal and green.
That straight line going through there is a little curious.
Yeah, so what's happening here is so I think these specifically are reflections coming off the secondary mirror spider struts.
I see. Okay.
So I was reading suggestions to use velour or some flocking material to kind of put it on the flats of the spider. I'm also looking at, I guess, replacing the spider because I think the stock one on my scope is a little bit on the thicker side, and because why not? It's fun to tinker with things. But yeah, so then the two stars that are diagonally opposed, there's kind of some of that on, they're both kind of giving
So
those.
the line going through the nebula there, that's part of this issue? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's coming from this guy down here.
Okay, I see it.
So the kind of ghost spikes that will show up across the frame from really strong stars.
Okay.
It lines up with this guy, and then similarly from this star, there's another line kind of going through the top here. So
I'm wondering if the SETI Astro Meteor Streak app would take those out, take that
I've played with it, and I don't know, because when you're getting into like the zoomed in view, I've never been too happy with what I can do, because I can always see like afterwards that, well, it's because I'm also doing it, so I know, the crimes that are being committed. But yeah, I haven't been too successful, I guess, with that tool is what I would say.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, and I've also think so I have masked the mirror and changed the focuser in the kind of funky intermediate spikes coming off the stars that I have were coming mostly from the focuser, I think, to kind of sticking further in. So I'm starting to get some things cleaned up, but definitely some more I guess projects in mind. To hopefully get it up and running for this summer. So, but fun either way. So, yeah, that's what I had.
Oh, you're using the D1 and the D2 filter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been using those, and I think I mentioned earlier. So I did get the Nexus corrector, so it takes it down to f3. Contemplating, definitely in the back of my mind of exploring other filters, seeing what's out there to maybe better match up with the faster optics there. But I'll probably play with what I have first, just to see what I get. Yeah, currently battling or working through either sensor tilt or focuser tilt, things like that, to try and get a flat field across that and back focus. So I definitely have quite a few little things to work on. So hopefully I can pull it together. So yeah, fun stuff.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay. Well, I guess I'll do this right quick. Let's see. That. So that's the thing that happened back in, I looked at the date. So this is 2008 when this happened. And so the red spot or the equatorial mount just slowly faded away. And what was funny is that was happening in, I guess, 2009. And nobody got, everybody was thinking, it was like, well, maybe it will disappear. We don't know. And then, let's see, that was late in the season for observing the planet. So nobody got to see what had happened because it went on to the other side of the sun. And so the sun was in the way. And this guy who's well-known astrophotographer, planetary astrophotographer, his name is Anthony Wesley. He was able to get an image of it as soon as it was doable without, frying the scope. And yeah, sure enough, it had disappeared. So, but there wasn't any really good days that year, as is always the case with North Carolina. But whatever. I just kind of look at it, and yeah, that little moon that's off to the side, that's Io. So, and also what's funny is this is like my first close planetary camera. It was called the Celestron Next Image, and it wasn't the best in the world, but it was less than $100. So I was just like, okay, well, I'll try this out, and if I like it, I'll see about investing in more of it, because ZWO wasn't around then. But the next best thing before that, as far as planetary imaging, was a company called Imaging Source. And I know Steve remembers that. I think he got like some of those at the tail end of their heyday. Then ZWO came along, and they've just dominated the market ever since. So anyways, that's what that looks like. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen again sometime. Okay, well, with that, call it a night, I guess. I guess one thing worth mentioning is the next meeting will be in May. Well, or not May, excuse me. Obviously, we'll be in April. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. 1, 2. So it'll be on April 17th. And that'll be our second imaging target challenge for the year. And this time it's called Galaxy Field. So doesn't matter what telescope you use or camera, whatever, the subject matter will be images with 3 or more galaxies in them. So you can do Leo Trio. You want to go some more well known. You can also do M81, M82 because there's a tiny galaxy, just above or below them, depending on how your frame is oriented, and you can do that area too if you wish. But anyway, so with that said, anybody have any other things that worth mentioning or? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. I thank everybody for coming and good night.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks.